Now that we understand what an effective tool Quizlet can be for helping students understand vocabulary and important subject-related content, let's take a look at a new feature called diagrams. A diagram is essentially a picture that communicates information, like this food chain. We use a lot of diagrams in science and math, but why? Well, sometimes words alone are not the most effective way to communicate real-world complex situations. So, we combine a picture with our terminology to help the students understand the relationships. Let's take a look at how Quizlet makes diagrams interactive. I've created one for us to take a look at first, so I can explain to you what Quizlet does to a diagram to add this interactivity. As I scroll down, we'll take a look. Here's our diagram. This is a simple food chain. It starts with grass and the grasshopper and the mouse, and then eventually to the owl. And the arrows indicate that energy is flowing in this direction. What I want my students to know, as a teacher, I want them to know that this is a producer, and I want them to know what a producer is. This is a primary consumer and a secondary consumer and a tertiary consumer, and I want them to be able to differentiate between those different types of levels in our food chain. So down here, you see where I have the terms. I have producer and what a producer is, and I have it indicated on the diagram. Now, here's what Quizlet does so well. When I click on the flashcards, this is where I want my students to learn about this information. So if I'm looking at a producer, what is a producer? A producer is an organism that can make its own food through a process of photosynthesis. And I go to the next one. So the first thing I would have my students do is I would have them to go through these flashcards and learn the very important content specific information. All right? Now when I go back, the next thing I want them to do is I want them to click on the Learn activity, And in this, you'll see that at the top, it is asking the student which of these flashing dots, these flashing indicators, which one of these is the producer. And if students were to select this correctly, immediate feedback. So this is so much better than just the paper version of this diagram, because it is creating an activity where it is providing students with basically with their own personal tutor and giving them formative assessment, formative feedback as they complete this. Now, when we go to the next one, you see it's asking for which of these things are tertiary consumers. And as I look at this, and let's just say that I think it's this one. When I click on this, it's going to say, no, that's not right. You'll need to study this one, and it's going to keep track of that. And it will even read the words to the students.
Tertiary consumers.
Okay? And so forth and so on. So students would go through this stack, and it's going to keep track of their progress as they go through this. Now, one final thing. This is to teach students the flashcards and learn. This is to provide them with an opportunity. But as you well know, spelling is important. So it also has a spelling test. And it says, type what you hear.
Tertiary consumers.
So I would have to spell tertiary, T-E-R-T-I-A-R-Y, consumers. Don't know if I did that right or not, so let me hit enter.
Producer.
I was worried about tertiary. Now I'm going to misspell producer, I'll do P-O-R-D-U-C-E-R. Now this is awesome, watch this.
Producer, P-R-O-D-U-C-E-R, producer.
Feedback, real-time feedback for students. And now also, I'm going to have to type that correctly before it will allow me to go on. P-R-O-D-U-C-E-R.
Primary consumer.
And then it allows me to go on. So this is such a very valuable tool, and I think you can appreciate how this is a step up. This is a definite advantage of using technology that makes a difference in the classroom as opposed to doing this the traditional way. All right, finally, I would have my students take a test. And there are written questions where they're going to have to type out, for number one, what is this? That's a primary consumer, a secondary consumer. Then there's multiple choice. Which of these is the tertiary consumer? And so forth and so on. And as I'm just going to do this quickly. I'm just going to put primary consumer. And this one, I'm just going to put nothing. I'm going to choose this one to get it right. I'm going to get this one right, and I'm going to check my answers. And so it tells me over here on the side that I made 75 out of 100, and it tells me which one I got wrong and what the right answer is. So I'm hoping that you see the value of using diagrams in the classroom. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to set this up and create a diagram activity.